All right, y'all. Thanks for joining me. Today, I want to discuss something real briefly. Once again, kind of following up on my last video, I wanted to discuss a lot of, stuff that goes on here on YouTube, a lot of things that people learn. And you have to understand that YouTube is such an amazing platform. You can get so much stuff, good stuff, on YouTube, a lot of information, good research, okay, and then you can also get a lot of very bad information, okay. And so the best thing to do is to always do independent research. Have an open mind when you read things and when people lead you. The reason for this video today is because I really believe that it's important for people to, if they run across somebody who seems to know what they're talking about, like the last video, I discussed a gentleman who has a lot of doctrines and beliefs. His name is he's gone on by the name of the Real Merkaba. And he's on here. He speaks a lot, very negatively towards Christianity, and not to take anything away from him, okay, because he's entitled to believe in what he's believing. But when people gain a certain following, one good thing that he does is he tells people that they have to do their own independent research, that they have to, which is really true and something that he's done for himself. He's come to, you got to give the guy a lot of credit because he's done his own homework. He's gone into a lot of research, and when he speaks, you can see tell that the gentleman has a lot of wisdom and understanding. But one thing I tried to make clear in my last video was that people come into things with their bias. Everybody has bias. I have my bias. I'm a Christian, so I always have my presuppositions and my bias and all that stuff, and I'm going to see things through that Christian worldview lens. But what we should do is, if anybody calls themselves an authority, what we want to do is we want to pit them against people that are also renowned for their authority and get people out there speaking. I think it's very important. So this video is really about getting, not just him, but anybody else who's speaking, who's gaining a following. This person, I think, has a following of people on his page in the thousands. And I really believe it would be a healthy thing, because I tried to see if he had any kind of debates, any formal debates. I think the person might be well enough established in what he believes to have a formal debate with Christian apologists. And, because, and I've said in the last video as well, and it's worth repeating, that we really need to, if we want to get to the truth and get people going in the right direction, we kind of have to see what the information is out there. And you can't learn something from someone. Like, I would never try to learn Buddhism from a Christian. I would not try to learn Islam from a Buddhist. I would not want to go to learn how to play baseball from, someone who plays football. It's just common sense. So I think it's only fair to call into question, in order to come to the truth, we want to sort out, the truth from the lies. A lot of information gets tossed around, and because people are in a certain geographical consensus, a certain platform together, they tend to stick together, and they kind of say, well, that makes sense, well, that makes sense, and it's easy for people to just take the ball and run with it. Okay? And I see a lot of information because of YouTube, where you have a lot of young people of color that they're pushing their understandings of things, of history, and basically trying to change history from what has been known from a long time ago. And there's nothing wrong with bringing things into question. But when there's no checks and balances, that's when we have a problem. I mean, I think it's really hugely ridiculous that, the Bible has been contested and it has held its own for 2,000 years. And it has experienced more than enough, contentions over hundreds of years, and it always ends up on top. And so, now you have all this information with the technology like YouTube, where you could take bits of information from here and bits of information from there and put it all in a snow cone and serve it as something totally else. And since you've got the majority of people who are not willing to do their, since these people are, they're not going to do this research themselves, it's not everyone who's going to do it. It's easy for them to tack on something that sounds right to them, that is appealing to them for whatever reason. Now, I'll tell you that a lot of that stuff comes out from Black Lives Matter and a lot of these groups that feel that, okay, well, we're rejecting Christianity. If you go to Black Lives Matter's website, you'll see that they're not just riding a wave of things that are happening in the hood and in various parts of the country, or basically all over the country, where you have injustices going on in the police departments, and I would not argue is not true. Okay. But what you have is sentiments that are legit being ridden by organizations, okay, that are basically have other and wider and bigger agendas, okay, to reshape our culture and reshape our history and politics and the whole nine. Okay, we know that. And that's why Black Lives Matter in general is still struggling, and it really is not going to get to where it wants to go, because it's a real fringe operation, very sloppy, very angry, and their message is not intellectual. Their message is not noble. Okay, when they refuse to go after abortion clinics that is killing colored babies way more than anything else. And it has its rooted, obvious history in white supremacy, in real white supremacy. Something that's totally overt. And we see it. You can't miss it. But somehow you don't see them protesting over there. That is what's called hypocrisy, as well as, the whole black on black crime that is obviously problems within the culture that we all know and smell, see, and all our five senses sees with the problem that's happening in the culture, is in the violence, is in the anger, is in the ignorance, is in the it's in culture and behavior, it's in the whole thing. And you see that in other cultures as well, not just in the black culture. You see it with among Hispanics and low-income minorities. It's a wave that also affects other cultures as well. But they don't want to address it, and that screams out hypocrisy. And so people recognize this, and so they can't get behind that. Okay, and so people they just continue trying to force feed their whole narrative on people, and it just doesn't work. It just screams left and right, issues. It screams politics, and people don't want that. They want their reality, and they want, they're not going to be pushed into recognizing something that comes with a huge baggage of other things. All right, so there are people that I think that there's nothing more healthy than getting people to talk. And so I would like to see people, the minute you have somebody who's speaking of any authority, I think that what we should do is pit them against people, renowned people of other persuasions. There's nothing wrong in that. It basically it gets people in a civilized and a very organized and cohesive, intellectual understanding, and people can come out of that not only learning from both sides, because people tend to lean towards what they're used to. Okay, so I think it's important to do that, to recognize that we have to learn from each other, and we have to sometimes recognize our blind spots wherever we do have them. Okay, and people bringing new information to light is always good educationally, for people to understand. And out of debates, you can come out learning many, many different things, and opens the spectrum of information that would normally not be available to us, because we wouldn't be going in that direction, regarding many different disciplines and different things. So it can never hurt. There was, I think, information going back regarding the black Hebrew Israelites who were trying to communicate with some Christian apologetics, that I was waiting that something would materialize more professionally. And I think it kind of got squashed because it just got way too ghetto, and people weren't really behaving to the point where it was getting something that could be tolerated. But you have a lot of stuff that when it's brewed in the hood, you can't expect it to operate in the same fashion as something that's brewed in a university setting, in intellectualism, where people can sit still for long enough for a debate without getting too hyped, and throwing out aggression and hostilities. Until you're able to do that, what you're going to do is you're going to be just basically leaning towards something that sounds right, as opposed to something that is the truth. So my thing is, once again, just to bring this back, is let's open up debate. Let's have all these gentlemen who really believe that they are ancient Egyptians or whatever, they believe, and they believe that the Bible is BS, and it was all pitted to try to bring the black man down, or the black man is a seed, and we were supposed to, and Christians were brought them down. A white man of the past has always been trying to conquer the black man. All of this stuff. If all of that stuff is true, then let's have formal debates, and let's understand. Contact apologists, renowned apologists, and let's sit down and let's review the information, and let's learn from each other. I think that's only fair. Well, until next time, thank you so much, and we'll see you later on. Bye.